A critic condemns the Nigerian government for the prolonged detention of Nnamdi Kanu, despite court rulings for his release, attributing it to systemic discrimination against the Igbo people. He accuses President Bola Tinubu of being corrupt and ineffective, labeling him as a drug lord and questioning the legitimacy of his presidency. He addresses Nigerian attempts to extradite Simon Ekpa from Finland, criticizing the misinformation and claiming Finland's sovereignty prevents such actions. He emphasizes that self-determination and self-defense, as outlined in UN charters, are not crimes and criticizes the global double standards when applied to Africa. He claims that the Nigerian government actively suppresses notable Igbo leaders like Nnamdi Kanu, Simon Ekpa, and Peter Obi, purely due to their ethnicity and advocacy. The Nigerian government is accused of using strategies to divide the Igbo people, citing Bianca Ojukwu's alleged role in actions against Simon Ekpa as an example. He criticizes the United Nations, European Union, and Western countries for their silence on Nigeria's alleged violations of human rights and court rulings. A systemic hostility toward the Igbo people is highlighted, claiming political, economic, and social oppression by the Nigerian state. He urges Igbo people to unite, reject internal division, and resist oppression to ensure a better future for subsequent generations. He calls on the world to recognize and address the injustices in Nigeria, advocating for open dialogue and international pressure to resolve the issues. Let me tell you a story that's been making waves, not just in Nigeria, but across the world. It's about a series of events involving Simon Ekpa, the Finnish-based Nigerian political activist and agitator for the independence of Biafra, and how Finland has made its final decision regarding his extradition. This story also casts a glaring spotlight on the Nigerian government, its controversies, and its alleged systematic mistreatment of the Igbo people. A story that strikes at the heart of justice, fairness, and humanity. Let's start with Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu is the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, or IPOB, a group advocating for the independence of Biafra from Nigeria. Nnamdi Kanu's story is a tragic one. He's been languishing in detention under Nigeria's Department of State Services, despite multiple court rulings ordering his release. Every time there's a court decision, the Nigerian government seems to find a way to ignore it. It's like a cruel game they're playing, keeping him locked away as though his very existence is a threat to the nation. But why? According to critics, it's because Nnamdi Kanu is Igbo. The Igbo people, for those who don't know, are one of the three major ethnic groups in Nigeria. Historically, they've faced discrimination, marginalization, and outright hostility from successive Nigerian governments. Many say that the treatment of Nnamdi Kanu is just another example of this systemic bias. And you know, when you think about it, it does seem suspicious. How can someone who's been acquitted by courts still be in detention? How can a nation call itself a democracy while blatantly ignoring the rule of law? These are questions that Nigerians, particularly those in the southeast, have been asking for years. But Nnamdi Kanu isn't the only one in the spotlight. Simon Ekpa, who resides in Finland, has become another thorn in the side of the Nigerian government. Simon Ekpa is a staunch advocate for Biafra's independence, and his fiery rhetoric has made him a polarizing figure. Nigeria has been trying to have Simon Ekpa extradited from Finland, accusing him of inciting violence and destabilizing the region. But Finland has made it clear their laws don't permit such actions without solid evidence, and sovereignty isn't up for negotiation. This is where things get messy. The Nigerian government has been accused of spreading misinformation about Simon Ekpa. They've claimed they've submitted all the necessary documents to Finland, trying to make it seem as though his extradition is imminent. But in reality, it's all smoke and mirrors. Finland, a country known for its robust judicial system, isn't going to hand over Simon Ekpa just because Nigeria says so. This situation has exposed the weaknesses in Nigeria's approach and its lack of understanding of international law. It's like trying to break into a fortress with a stick. It's not going to work. Critics of the Nigerian government, both at home and abroad, have used this case to highlight the broader issues plaguing the country. They've pointed to the government's obsession with suppressing dissent while ignoring the more pressing problems of insecurity, hunger, and poverty. It's almost as if the government is more concerned with silencing its critics than addressing the issues that actually matter to its people. Then there's the matter of self-determination. According to the United Nations Charter, self-determination is a right. It's not a crime. People have the right to seek independence if they feel oppressed or marginalized. This is a principle that's been upheld in many parts of the world, but when it comes to Africa, it seems like the rules change. Why is that? Why is it that when people in Africa fight for self-determination, they're labeled as terrorists? It's a question that critics have been asking for years, and the silence from the international community is deafening. This silence is particularly frustrating for the Igbo people, who feel that the world has turned its back on them. They see the treatment of nnamdikanu and Simon Ekpa as part of a larger strategy to suppress their voices and weaken their resolve. Even prominent figures like Peter Obi, a respected politician and former governor, face hostility and opposition simply because they are Igbo. It's as if their very existence is a threat to the status quo. One of the most insidious strategies employed by the Nigerian government, according to critics, is the divide and conquer approach. They pit Igbo people against one another, creating divisions that weaken their collective strength. A prime example of this is Bianca Ojukwu, the widow of Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, the leader of Biafra during the Nigerian Civil War. Bianca Ojukwu has been accused of playing a role in efforts to discredit and suppress Simon Ekpa. Whether or not these accusations are true, the perception alone is enough to sow discord among the Igbo people. And that's exactly what the government wants: division. It's heartbreaking to see a community with so much potential being torn apart by internal strife and external oppression. The Igbo people are known for their resilience, their ingenuity, and their entrepreneurial spirit. They've contributed so much to Nigeria's development, yet they're treated like second-class citizens in their own country. How is that fair? How is that just? Critics have also taken aim at the international community for its inaction. Organizations like the United Nations and the European Union are supposed to stand for justice and human rights, but when it comes to Nigeria, they've been eerily silent. The United Nations even issued a 6-month ultimatum to Nigeria to release Nnamdi Kanu and compensate him for his illegal detention. That was years ago, and nothing has happened. It's as if the world is content to look the other way while injustices continue to unfold. This brings us to the heart of the matter: unity. The Igbo people need to come together and recognize the challenges they face. They need to put aside their differences and focus on the bigger picture. Division only serves to weaken their cause and prolong their suffering. It's time for the Igbo community to stand united and demand justice, not just for Nnamdi Kanu and Simon Ekpa, but for all Igbo people who have been marginalized and oppressed. This is a fight for the future. It's a fight for the next generation so they don't have to endure the same struggles. It's about ensuring that the Igbo people can live with dignity and pride in a country that respects their rights and values their contributions. This isn't just a Nigerian issue, it's a human issue. It's about fairness, justice, and the right to self-determination. As the story unfolds, one can only hope that the world will finally take notice and step in to address these injustices. Until then, the fight continues, and the voices of those advocating for change will not be silenced. Now, when we look at the heart of this situation, we need to take a step back and truly understand what's happening. You see, Simon Ekpa has become a symbol of defiance for some and a target for others. For many, Simon Ekpa represents the voice of the oppressed. He's the man who, despite being thousands of miles away in Finland, has managed to rally supporters and inspire discussions about the long-standing marginalization of the Igbo people. But here's the catch. The Nigerian government doesn't just see Simon Ekpa as an activist, they see him as a threat. And they've been trying every trick in the book to silence him. They've accused Simon Ekpa of everything from inciting violence to causing unrest in the southeast region of Nigeria. They've painted him as the mastermind behind protests, sit-at-home orders, and, as they claim, economic disruptions. The question is, how much of this is true, and how much of this is a convenient narrative to discredit him? Think about it. Simon Ekpa is not in Nigeria. He's in Finland, and yet the Nigerian government insists that he is responsible for the unrest in the southeast. Critics argue that this is simply a way to shift blame. Instead of addressing the root causes of the discontent in the region, like underdevelopment, lack of infrastructure, and political neglect, the government has chosen to focus its energy on one man. It's like trying to put out a fire by blaming the wind. But Simon Ekpa is not without his critics, even among the Igbo people. Some argue that his methods are too extreme, that his rhetoric only serves to inflame tensions and make an already bad situation worse. Others question his motives, wondering if his actions are truly for the benefit of the Igbo people, or if there's a personal agenda at play. These are valid concerns, and they add another layer of complexity to an already tangled web. Now, let's not forget about nnamdikanu in all of this. Nnamdikanu's continued detention is a glaring example of the Nigerian government's unwillingness to follow its own laws. Remember, multiple courts have ordered his release, but those rulings have been ignored. And it's not just about Nnamdikanu as an individual, it's about what he represents. To many, Nnamdikanu is a symbol of resistance, a man who dared to challenge the status quo and demand better for his people. You know, it's easy to sit back and say, why don't they just follow the law? But in Nigeria, it's not that simple. The judicial system, while technically independent, is often undermined by political interference. It's a system where power dynamics play a bigger role than justice, and that's a tragedy in itself. Imagine living in a country where the law is more of a suggestion than a rule. It's a frustrating and frankly disheartening reality for many Nigerians. But what about Finland in all of this? The Finnish government has been crystal clear in its stance. They've said that Simon Ekpa will not be extradited unless there is concrete evidence of wrongdoing. And let's be honest, the Nigerian government hasn't exactly presented a compelling case. It's almost as if they thought they could just send a request and Finland would say, "Sure, here you go." That's not how it works. Finland operates on the rule of law, and their judicial system is one of the most respected in the world. This brings up an interesting point about how different countries view justice. In Finland, the focus is on evidence, fairness, and due process. In Nigeria, it often feels like justice is whatever those in power say it is. It's a stark contrast that highlights just how far Nigeria still has to go in terms of governance and rule of law. Now let's talk about the role of the international community, or rather the lack of it. Where is the United Nations in all of this? Where is the African Union? These are organizations that are supposed to stand up for human rights and justice, yet their silence has been deafening. Sure, the United Nations issued a directive for Nnamdikanu's release, but what has been done to enforce it? Nothing. It's like shouting into the void, hoping someone will hear you. The same can be said for the European Union. Finland is a member, and you'd think that the European Union would be more vocal about one of their member states being dragged into this mess. But no, it's been radio silence. And that silence speaks volumes. It tells the Nigerian government that they can continue their actions without fear of international repercussions. It tells the Igbo people that their struggles are not important enough to warrant attention. It's a slap in the face, honestly. But let's not lose hope.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Christian. Simon Ekpa get people that are lobbying for Biafra, and it is a plus. The way Simon Ekpa is going international, and it seems he's making this agitation a serious international issue by employing international lobbyists make sure that Biafra is recognized at the world stage? Let's get a reaction.
Now, thank you for that wonderful question, Bianca of this great platform. First and foremost, I want to say, Simon Ekpa has come out to say, or has outlined countless times that he said that the Nigerian government cannot win Biafra with a barrel of gun for a second time. Now when he said that, see, Nigerian government cannot win Biafra with a barrel of gun, it means that nobody needs to die for them to exit Nigeria. Now, Ojukwu fought Biafra in a different dimension. Now, nnamdikanu did it via his own dimension. So Ekpa is taking it globally. And now, we've seen world body recognize Biafra. We've seen the UN and then some other global body have come out to endorse the Biafra struggle. So kudos to him, it is a plus. Some persons have come out to say that Simon Ekpa should be discredited, the likes of Igbo and that of the southeastern governors. But my question is that you said Simon Ekpa should not be taken serious. Then who should be taken serious? The government who is not willing to protect our people? Is it the people who have refused to speak up when the Igbo man has been marginalized in the country? Is it the same governors who have become a tools in the hands of their Fulani master? So for you to even have a character like Simon Ekpa and nnamdikanu to have come out to say enough is enough, that we are tired of this contraption called one Nigerians. It shows that these people have this mindset that, see, they can no longer be the slave. So for him to have even gone as far as to hire lobbyists that will speak on behalf of Biafra in the world in the UN summit, to me it's a plus, and that alone, the voice of Biafrans will be heard globally, and the voice of an Igbo man is also being heard globally. Now let me take it back the line. When Southern Sudan and South Sudan wanted parted ways, nobody killed each other. Nobody go through the route of violence. It was done amicably. So Simon Ekpa is doing it amicably for him to convince world leaders that this thing is possible, and why the government of the day, the present government of Nigeria, are not seeing it that way. Thank you. You can also
to the government, the Nigerian government be worried about this?
Why would they be worried? The same people have sent assassins to kill Simon Ekpa. Now only he has escaped. So see, one thing about it is that the government of the day, they are panicking. There's panic. You know what it is now? Say a particular tribe, a major tribe, to exit your country. You know how an Igbo man is. You know the investment of an Igbo man is in the country. Now imagine in Nigeria without an Igbo man. Let's just imagine that. I mean, dominance. That means the outside man would now dominate virtually every government parastatals in Nigeria. So now the reason why the Igbo man is still believe that's Nigeria is because the Igbo man is still in the contraption called Nigeria. But eventually, if the Igbo man leaves, my brother, the Yoruba man will know the true meaning of Nigeria, and then we now know who owns Nigeria. Just like what Angwabula said, he said they are not scared of the Igbos parting, exiting Nigerians. That was what he said. He said they are not scared. Indirectly, that means the other tribe would not have sense of belonging in the country, and we know it. I know it too. And every normal man now has the spirit of dominance. You cannot dominate him. if a Fulani man has a spirit of dominance, for you to dominate him, it will take ages. In terms of population, you cannot dominate them. So one thing is that Ojukwu have foreseen this whole thing. That was why he championed this Biafra struggle. And now, gradually, it is now becoming a reality in this contraction called Nigeria. Now, there are some Igbo men are even tired of the system called Nigeria, just because they feel their brother is still in president. Now, my brother, I can bet you, come 2027, the Yorubas will be championing the Republic more than the Igbo man. I can bet you that. That I'm very certain of. Yes, we will championing because it is certain when their president, when their brother is being kicked away from the presidency, already there is a plot, and which he himself cannot escape. The president himself knows that there is a plot, and then the big shots in the north are forming alliance. You know it. RFI, a powerful influence in the north, is not in the league. Sorry, is not in good terms with the president. And now nobody can take that factor. What RFI did. Honestly, I made President Tinubu emerge as the president via his own influence. And then we have also the likes of Angulai, which is the chairman of the Northern Others Forum. He said, post that election, that the Northern Others Forum supported Tinubu, but come 2027, Tinubu will not get their support. So what does that mean? Now if the average Northern person is not giving the vote, now where will they get the vote? It just come by 2027. The same thing the Yorubas have tagged the Igbos for. Now they will be the mastermind of it, because I can bet you by 2027 Yoruba will stop. And that's the slogan that will continue to trend, is that we are tired of the country, we want to follow the suit of the Igbo man and exit the country. And then the Igbo man now will not take them, tag them for being unserious, because now that the Igbo man is championing for the exit, we are saying the Igbo man is not serious. There are claims that the Igbo man is not serious, but I can bet you, when the system will not catch up with you, then you will know why the Igbo man has been championing to exit. Thank you for always coming.